Coming from Mexico, Michelle, do we see you?
Yes.
There you are. Michelle is a CEO of a great place to work at Mexico, a true believer of building a better world through helping companies transform their cultures. We can't wait to hear your really interesting perspective on the microcultures inside of companies. An absolute pleasure to invite a dear friend and sister, the ever elegant Dr. Aurora Martin, coming from Romania. The head of unit at NS.
Next, we would like to invite another dynamic personality, Mr. Srikanth Shastri, co-founder of Krylon Data Singapore, India, from India. Welcome, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have it. Our panel for leaders of the decade in business and innovation. A big round of applause for these three dynamic personalities this afternoon. With that, I would like to bring upon Michelle Ferrari to come up on stage. Yes, right over here.
Well, thank you all very much for having me here, Dr. Harbin. It's wonderful to be joining all these amazing women and men from all over the world. I've come definitely from very far with two of my boys and my husband. Unfortunately, my sister was supposed to make it here as well today with my nieces, but her flight was delayed. So I've been working at Great Place to Work for probably more than 17 years now. We have an amazing mission, I would say. It's a mission of transforming societies while making companies great places to work. And as that might sound easy to say, it's very hard to achieve. We're working very strongly to help companies be greater places to work with people that are enthusiastic and passionate with the work they do. But more than that is probably providing to them a fairness atmosphere. I think that we are improving and trying to make companies that are great places to work for all, for any sort of gender, any sort of age, I would say, and any sort of passion that people have and bring to these companies that are rewarded in a fairness way. I also believe that by improving societies, because we are, most of our times and lives working in these companies, and as employees or employers, we should be providing places where people can be developed, treated fairness, and have the same opportunities of growth. We get to see millions of numbers and data coming from all over the world. We're in about 70 countries. And we can see throughout our methodology, there is a lot of areas of improvement still in a trustworthy company to work for. Although there are many, many companies that are, trying to make their way there and being better at what they do by providing better leadership and trustworthy leaderships. I still believe there is a lot of improvement to be done through companies that are genuinely trying to see the human resource as probably as the best investment they have in terms of being competitive towards the future. So I believe that these events, and I also believe that closing the gender gap is becoming each time a little more consciousness in our world. I believe that is helping to improve and see many investing firms like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs investing a lot of millions of dollars in companies that are entrepreneurial for women. So that rings a bell, and obviously my bell just rang as well, but I invite you all to keep on believing in yourselves. In this moment of my life, there's a huge turnaround, as I will be dedicating probably my next years for diversity and inclusion in companies. I believe that is what is going to create innovation for all of us, and definitely a way of improving ourselves as human beings. So thank you very much for having us here, and it'll be great to share with you. Sorry? Oh yeah, so the other happy news here is that we're having the WEF in Mexico. I've been approved by Dr. Harbin. So we're looking for November. It'll be in a very, very beautiful Mexican Riviera Maya. So hopefully many of you can join us there. I'm sure we will have plenty of nice things to share. Thank you.
Thank you for your generous invitation. I think many of us will join you there. And thank you for being a pioneer for cultural transformation in a space that really needs it. Because, with billions of dollars, like you said, being pushed into these companies that they have to work with, if we create a cultural shift, it can change the world that they exist in, at least. Thank you. I'd like to invite Dr. Aurora Martin to bring her Romanian perspective.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you realize how lucky we are to be here next to one of the most influential people of this planet? And she is a woman. And many times when we are so involved, the personal journey is the same with country's journey. So I think that India must be very proud of, because a woman encouraged and supported by all of us, by so many other women, continue to work to help in creating a safer environment for women and girls. A safer environment where women and girls not to be victims of rape and harassment. A safer environment where women and girls not to be victims of abuses, domestic violence, any other kind of violence. A safer environment for girls to have access to education, to be protected from early marriages. A safer environment for women to have access to workplace, to be equal paid, and to be protected from discrimination, any kind of discrimination. A safer environment for girls and women to be respected. Talking about Dr. Harbin Arora, actually, I was spoken about my activity and about what you are doing in your activity as well. Because all of us, we are involved in protecting, in promoting and defending women's rights. And I know that this is true because this is happening when in sisterhood we trust. And now, allow me to tell you a personal story. I was born by mistake. Not because my parents didn't love each other, but because the decision of the government interfered in the private life of my parents. How was this possible? By a decree. A decree through which the totalitarian state took possession of women's wombs, to excavate it in, and to ask to search for more and more children. I am one of those children. Like me, there are many. We are an entire generation in Romania. We are called the children of the decree. We are the result of one of the most tragic social experiments in the world. According to this decree, any woman was obliged, had the patriotic duty to give birth to 4 or 5 children. But the state didn't support women with collateral politics. Moreover, they prohibited any contraceptive method in pharmacies and any sexual education. So no chance for a woman to avoid a pregnancy. And what happened when we receive a prohibition? We try to find collateral way. It's what Romanian women try to find. Because the decree didn't eradicate the abortion, but made them much more costly. A whole underground industry surfaced and illegal pregnancy interruptions was performed by people without any medical training. As a result, more than 10,000 women between 68 and 89, the year of revolution, more than 10,000 women lost their life trying to make an illegal abortion. And when a woman dies in a family, an entire family suffers. You know that very well. Now, to understand better how heavy this decree was on the entire shoulders population, the first law abolished immediately after revolution was this law against abortion. The results? The first year after the revolution, more than 1 million abortions. Next year, 3 times more abortions than births. And what does it mean on the short, medium, and long terms? That means, just 1 minute, yes? That means in 3 years, at least 1 million children in kindergarten. 7 years later, 1 million less children in primary school, high school, universities, and in the workplace. And now, because this is not finished yet, my generation, when we shall be in pension, it will be not enough workforce for paying the pension for us. So, talking to you about the Romanian case, I invite you to think twice, to think and rethink when you talk about reproductive rights. Because while we could argue about pro-life or pro-choice options, besides, the seeds of nationalism are growing up. And we know that nationalism use women's body, use women as instrument for political tools, use women for their own propaganda. And nationalism, the experience of the history show us that always brought intolerance and authoritarianism. I will conclude by inviting you to reflect to the past experiences in order to avoid potential ideological traps You know that United States and some countries in European Union have on the agendas the issue of the reproductive rights. So, women, dear girls, don't allow, this is my message, don't allow any political party to use your body as a political tool for propaganda. Because dear women, dear girl, your body is your right. Thank you.
Thank you. You couldn't have concluded it in any way. Thank you, Dr. Martin. Thank you for shedding light on such an important topic in every country at this moment. So thank you for being such a strong personality. Again, a big round of applause for Dr. Martin. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Srikanth Shastri to come up on stage. He is the co-founder of Cryon Data from Singapore. Now, he has sold 2 really, really large companies, and I'm sure we'll get to hear about it. And he had 18,000 employees under him. So a big round of applause for Mr. Shastri.
Thank you. It's a privilege and honor to be here. I always dread the session before lunch, but like in most respects, Harbeen and Vinay have been very innovative, allowing people to bring their lunch in. So I'm not as worried today, and I can see people at the back enjoying their lunch as well. Those of you visiting India from overseas, if you've seen the newspapers or watched the television, the headlines these days are about the elections that we're in the midst of. If you'd come in even 2 weeks earlier, or if you come in a month later, the headlines would be completely different. The headlines are usually about startups who are raising hundreds of millions of dollars, or startups who are selling their companies for billions of dollars. In India, startups are actually, the founders are rock stars, and to do a startup is to wear a badge of honor. It wasn't always like this. When I started way back in '95, most people thought I was mad. I had gone to the best engineering and MBA schools in India, IIT and IIM. I worked for a multinational Unilever. When I announced one day that I'm going to do a startup, my family thought I was mad. My wife always believed that I was mad. This just validated it for her. And it was hard because the term startup, the term venture capital had not yet been coined in India. So you went up against big odds. I remember a day when I was down to the last 10 rupees in my wallet. I remember the day my younger son was born. I didn't have money to pay the hospital bills. But eventually we succeeded. As she said, we grew to 2 companies, 18,000 employees. We were either lucky or the European companies who bought us out were stupid, but somehow we sold both the businesses. And today what I do is, while I'm a partner in a 3rd company, what I do with most of my time is I work with young startups, mentor them. I go to incubators across the country, mentor large groups of startups. I also created a video series last year on the web called Chalo Startup. Chalo Startup means let's do a startup in Hindi. It's a video series that's got about 1 million views. It's got stories inside which there are messages for startups of mistakes that they should not repeat, the ones I made. So it's a great time to be a startup founder in India. The main message I'd like to leave all of you with, there is enough data that shows that the companies that are creating jobs in India are startups and small businesses and home businesses, not large corporations. So when I go out to colleges and incubators and places like this, all I do is urge young people, don't become a corporate slave, go out and do your thing. Now, one of the heartening things I see is a lot of young women, many of them who've done PhDs wanting to do a startup, but the tragedy is there aren't enough of them. There aren't enough women doing startups, not because they don't want to. It's just that they need help, they need encouragement. So my belief is 3.5 billion women in the world, if they can be persuaded to do startups, not only will our economies grow faster, but will be a nicer world as well. So this afternoon, I'm actually doing a workshop to brainstorm how can we get these 3.5 billion women to do startups and become entrepreneurs. If we can pool our ideas together, I'm sure we can get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Srikanth, for leaving us with that reverberating message that it's a great time to be a startup founder in India. Did you hear that, ladies? In India. Thank you. We'd like to, for these iconic leaders, Harbeen.
I just want to invite a special guest in the house. His Excellency Ambassador of Romania is with us, and I invite him to join us on stage and to join me in presenting the awards to not just the awardee from Romania, but to all other countries as well. Excellency.
Thank you very much for this invitation. I didn't prepare the speech, so this is very challenging for me and maybe very entertaining for you after I finish. No, it's a great pleasure to be here. It's a great pleasure that a Romanian will receive this prestigious award. As you know, Romania is a country that has done a lot in the past and he's doing in the present for the human rights, for the rights of women. We are one of the very few countries in the world having a prime minister, a woman, and a lot of our leaders, politicians, entrepreneurs are equally women. I'm not an expert on the subjects that you are discussing today, so again, I congratulate the people receiving the awards, and I wish you a very interesting meeting after that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Ambassador of Romania to India. It's an honor to have you with us, presenting the awards to these iconic leaders.
Michelle Ferrari, Woman of the Decade in Business and Leadership. Dr. Aurora Martin, Woman of the Decade in Security and Conflict Transformation. Srikanth Shastri, Leaders of the Decade in Innovation and Startups. I request you all to get together for a photograph, please. Kindly get together for a photograph.